Thank y'all. We'll open with the prayer, if you'll bow with me. Gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today, and thanks for all your many blessings. We thank you for all the good things you provide for us, and pray that you would be with us in our deliberations today. Allow us to do the right thing in your eyes, and that you would give us wisdom and guidance in everything we do. We thank you for our country, and pray for our leaders, pray for our president as he navigates our country and leads us in the right direction that we hope we should go. Pray that you would forgive us our sins, forgive us where we failed you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. If you'll join us in the pledge. Attention, salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out. We'll start with a consent docket agenda. Yes, sir. You're recognized, Commissioner.
Good morning, everybody. I want to make a quick introduction. Attorney Bridget Morgan has come aboard as our policy advisor, filling the seats of Mr. Davis Gates in the back, and we appreciate you if you would welcome her.
Good to have you with us. We'll start with consent docket item 1, adoption of proposed consent docket for the February 2025 open meeting of the Commission.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to the energy, electric, natural gas agenda. Move to item. So we're moving to the agenda. We're trying something new today and ask for the first item on the energy agenda to be presented by the utility itself. At this time, I would like to ask Ms. Alicia Hall with Energy Mississippi to present item number 1. Ms. Hall, you may begin.
Good morning, Commission.
Morning, thank you.
Good morning. All right. Commissioners, on September 30th, 2024, Energy Mississippi filed a notice of intent to make a routine change in rates. In docket number 2024 UN 112, the company notified the Commission that it intended to implement Unit Power Cost Recovery Rider Schedule UPC 4 Second Revised to recover the first year of cost associated with the transfer of Entergy Louisiana's entitlement to Grand Gulf Nuclear Station capacity and associated energy. The company is also seeking a finding from the Commission that it's just and reasonable for Entergy Mississippi to obtain Louisiana's existing entitlements to Grand Gulf capacity and energy. In this docket, the company opportunity to obtain, for the benefit of all customers, over 200 megawatts of solid fuel baseload resource located in Mississippi. It's a resource that is available and operating right now. EML also demonstrated and cited to its 2024 Integrated Resource Plan, without contest, that it has short-term and long-term capacity needs. The transfer of this additional capacity from Grand Gulf will help to meet those existing capacity needs, again, for all customers right now. The company submits that Grand Gulf contributes to fuel price stability and fuel diversity within Mississippi's generation fleet. The addition of solid fuel capacity specifically increases Entergy Mississippi's ability to manage risk associated with natural gas price volatility in the long term, as Grand Gulf is licensed to continue operations through 2044. Entergy Mississippi submitted an economic evaluation demonstrating long-term economic benefits of Grand Gulf for all customers. The staff reviewed the notice filing with the assistance of consultant Bates White, including multiple sets of confidential data request responses. Entergy Mississippi asked that the Commission approve its notice filing. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Staff, do you have anything to add?
No, Commissioner, I think she covered it.
Awesome, thank you. Any questions, commissioners?
Well, I'll say this is the work product for a lot of people over a long period of time, and it's a unique opportunity for Mississippi to acquire 200 megawatts of nuclear power to further our needs and to position us in the marketplace to be better. And I look forward to continuing to grow our nuclear offering in the future, and this is just the first step. So I appreciate everybody for their hard work in getting this done. And we can get 200 megawatts of nuclear power without sticking a shovel in the dirt or paying for the exorbitant amount. I think it's ranging right now at about between $5,000 and $8,000 a kilowatt. So you can just do the math from there to see what it takes to build a nuclear facility. So this is a good opportunity for us to position ourselves better for the future.
You have comments?
Yes. Will there be any need for any transmission lines with the new capacity?
There will be no need for new transmission lines.
So where does that put Mississippi or Energy? Are we long now on power, or does this fill a gap that we need?
Entergy Mississippi actually still projects that it's going to have short-term and long-term capacity needs. This helps to fill that need for all customers, and it continues to pursue other ways to fill that need that it has for all customers, Commissioner.
And what percentage of ownership does Mississippi or Energy Mississippi have now with this new load, or this new picking up this extra 200 megawatts plus?
Commissioner, the acquisition is another 14% of the ownership, and so the total ownership will put Entergy Mississippi with I'm sorry, Commissioner.
That's okay.
Right now, we own approximately a third of the plant, and so this is going to be an additional 14%.
So this puts us over 50% ownership?
Right at about it, 50%.
So this is clean energy. Someone gets the credits here, correct? Can you explain who gets the credits, the green credits, so to speak?
Yeah, there are clean energy attributes associated with the plant, and those clean energy attributes are an attractive attribute for certain types of customers. And so those are available as an additional benefit of this resource that we are hopeful may be something that certain customers may be interested in. And right now, those benefits would accrue to all customers.
Mm-hmm.
And in the future, if another customer was interested in those benefits, then all customers would benefit from that other customer being able to access those.
Is there any possibility that in the future that we may be able to pick up more capacity there?
Commissioner, at this point, I'm not aware of additional opportunities to access more Grand Gulf capacity. We would certainly brief the commission if there are opportunities for that.
And who are we purchasing this from? What that percentage, who are we picking this up from?
The percentage, the 14%, comes entirely from Entergy Louisiana's entitlement to Grand Gulf capacity.
Okay.
You know, we started this, one of the first things we did was say that we were all the above approach in energy, and that we're open for nuclear. We do think that that's a pathway to the future. It's clean, it's reliable. I think it's 90+% on. So it makes sense that we're going down this path. I know that we saw, to what Commissioner Stamp said, obviously we saw the cost of Vogtle 1 and 2 in Georgia and how long it took. This is not near that cost, but we get an extra 14% of very reliable energy at a much lower cost, obviously. So we're excited about that opportunity to have more reliable power going down the nuclear path as well. And so appreciate your presentation. And hearing no more questions, do I have a motion?
So move.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you. And the new format, just so the people know, we're trying to go down the path of more transparency, and we appreciate the staff working with us and the work they do and what you're doing. We'll move forward with the remainder of the energy agenda. Ms. Myrick, you're recognized for present item number 2, docket number 2024 UN 138.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioners, on November 25th, Mississippi Power Company filed a notice of special contract between Mississippi Power and Hood Industries Incorporated for the provision of electric service to certain facilities located in Perry County. The proposed agreement for electric service qualifies as a special contract pursuant to Mississippi Code 77335 and Rule 27 of the Commission's Public Utilities Rules of Practice and Procedure. The agreement achieves the necessary goals of a special contract, including that it recovers sufficient revenues to meet the incremental costs to serve Hood, that it contains a price sufficiently competitive to retain the customer, and that the revenues received by Mississippi Power from the agreement will provide a contribution margin above Mississippi Power's incremental cost of service. The contribution margin will benefit Mississippi Power's other retail customers. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you for the explanation. Any questions?
So in regards to this, can you explain to what happened to Hood Industry? I know, but I need everybody else to know what happened.
Yes, sir. So I think back in 22, I think maybe April of 2022, their facility was hit by a tornado. So it pretty much made the facility inoperable. So what this special contract does is it is basically, helping them to get the facility back operable, and will restore those jobs that were lost and that lost load for Mississippi Power.
Yes. The reason for that question is, thank you for the answer, is that here we have again Mississippi Power and our utility companies working together with the, private company to, help our citizens out. And I greatly appreciate that we're all working together. And that's what we here at the commission is trying to do, is get everybody working together for Mississippi. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And how does this impact the ratepayer? Is there any impact to the ratepayer?
No, sir. It should help lower costs for everyone once the load is back on, and you can spread those fixed costs over a larger kilowatt-hour base.
Okay.
But it's my understanding there's no investment that has to be made to serve this because, it was an existing facility that Mississippi Power served before the tornado.
Okay. Thank you for your
You're welcome.
presentation. Hearing no more questions, I have a motion.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Uh-huh.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Now you're recognized to present item number 3, 2025 UN 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Commissioners, on January 9th, Mississippi Power Company filed a notice of special contract with Compass Data Centers for the provision of electric service to certain facilities to be located in Lauderdale County. The proposed agreement for electric service qualifies as a special contract pursuant to Mississippi Code 77335 and Rule 29 of the Commission's Public Utilities Rules of Practice and Procedure. The agreement achieves the necessary goals of a special contract, including that it recovers sufficient revenues to meet their incremental cost to serve Compass. It contains a price sufficiently competitive to attract the customer, and that the revenues received by Mississippi Power from the agreement will provide a contribution margin above Mississippi Power's incremental cost of service. The contribution margin will benefit Mississippi Power's other retail customers. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you for your explanation. Any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, you're right.
Well, first, I want to thank everyone for their hard work in this endeavor, because Compass Data Centers and this partnership with Mississippi Power is going to benefit Mississippi greatly, and I look forward to continuing to work towards doing these types of projects in the future.
Commissioner Carr?
Yeah. So in this process of when the construction starts, so this load will come on gradually to give Mississippi Power time to meet the needs as they're coming? Is that correct?
That is my understanding.
So it's just not an impact all of a sudden of close to 500 megawatts.
That's correct, sir. You know, Compass will have to build out their facilities, and Mississippi Power, you know, will have a time to respond to those needs.
And how long was this process? Is it 2 years, 3 years, 4 years?
That was filed as a confidential response. I don't think I can provide that here in the open meeting.
Okay.
Thank you for your presentation, and I'll echo what fellow commissioners said. We know that the future of economic development is reliable, affordable energy, and I think that's exactly why we're having the success that we're having. I give props to Governor Reeves. He actually called this out in his State of the State address, and so we're committed to try to make this happen. And I think that's why we have the opportunities that we have, is that we continue to try to have reliable, affordable rates. And of course, that's kind of our goal. And as we can do that, then we'll have more and more of these opportunities. So thank you for your work in that. We welcome Compass to Mississippi. Hearing no other questions, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Meyer, staff, for what you do.
Thank you.
Move on to the telecommunications agenda. Mr. Jones, you're recognized to present item number 1, docket number 2024 UA 139.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, LCI Connections on December 3rd, 2024, filed an application for CPN to provide facilities-based and resold competitive local exchange and inter-exchange telecommunications services throughout the state. The company plans to provide turnkey, secure dark fiber service network needs to serve primarily enterprise and carrier customers, and specifically anticipates providing services to data centers and related facilities. Based upon LCI's application with its attached exhibits, responses to staff's data request, and further inquiry, of which the Commission has been apprised, LCI appears to possess the technical, financial, and managerial capabilities to provide the telecommunications services in our state. Further, the grant of authority requested would be in the public interest, as LCI's entry would strengthen competition and contribute to the development of the state's telecommunication infrastructure. Therefore, the staff recommends that the Commission approve LCI's application.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We don't have anything on the water agenda, so we'll move on to the administrative agenda. Discussion possible action regarding approval of commission minutes. So need to approve the minutes for January 2025, term of the commission. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to item 2, discussion of a proposed PSC logo. Commissioner Stamps, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the last few months, we've been working on a concept. We haven't nailed it in stone yet, but the first question that most people ask us is, what do you do? What does the Public Service Commission do? And so we have a great seal and logo right now, but in the future, we wanted to just look around and see if we can come up with a better way to present ourselves that articulates what we do. And this is just an initial concept. We haven't nailed anything in stone yet, but it just basically says light, water, gas, and telecommunications in the shape of Mississippi. We're not, nailed down on one specific solution, but we'll play with the colors and see if we can come to something that everyone agrees on, or not. But we thought it was healthy of a discussion of how we could present ourselves in the future.
I noticed purple made its way into that logo. Any reason?
We work, Democrats and Republicans working together. Red and blue makes purple, right?
There's the explanation for the purple. And I think that's appropriate because I am thankful for both of y'all. And I think we have a common goal, and that's one Mississippi, is that if it helps the Southern District, Commissioner Stamps and I are on board. If it helps the Central District, Commissioner Carr and I are on board. If it helps the Northern District, Commissioner Stamps and Mr. Carr is on board. So I'm very, very thankful to have the team that we have, and we are one Mississippi. So look forward to exploring the logo and moving forward there. So appreciate your work on that. Moving on to item, yes, sir.
And if you have any comments, please address. I mean, this is Mississippi.
Right.
Yeah, it's our
If
logo,
you have a comment,
group logo. So not now, but I mean,
But, Mr.
if you're mad at the logo, contact Commissioner Stamps. If you love it, no, just kidding. We're open for suggestions. So if you have any input, we'd love to hear it.
But one thing about it, maybe we could get us a Public Service Commission car tag one day.
Who knows?
You know, all kinds of stuff we can do with it.
Where would that money go, Commissioner?
I don't know. We'll have a staff barbecue or something. I don't know.
I can see that line forming now.
Uh-oh. Okay. Thank you again for your work. Item number 3, docket number 2024, UN 26 and UN 27, Great River Utility Operating Company, LLC, 2024 FRP Annual Report for Water and Wastewater Operations in its certificate areas in Mississippi. Any questions or discussion on this one?
Yes.
Commissioner Carr, you're recognized.
I'd like to make a few comments. You know, daily, the Southern District and the men and women that answer our phone calls, when I was elected and I came on board, we implemented where we do a spreadsheet. Very concerning what those numbers was telling me about Great River. The majority of our phone calls was Great River. Those are facts. I can't deny the facts. They run anywhere from 35% of comments being very concerned about Great River and their service to the community, their pricing, and it goes up to 97%. We don't receive that from other utilities. And since January of last year, when I was sworn in, we have asked for a lot of things from Great River. And now in the 11th hour, we received some of those in the last 2 weeks. And Great River's been in our state, from my calculations, long before I was here. And as we went out into the community, we went to the city of Natchez, and y'all heard some of the comments that were here. They're concerned. They're retired people. They're on fixed incomes. And they don't understand. And we have a state that's not at the financial top of the ladder. We're at the bottom of the ladder. But our utility bills in general, especially the water and sewer, ranks at the top part of the tier as far as the nation. I've gotten numerous texts this morning and asking me to do something. It's a very hard thing to do. I don't take it lightly. I spent a lot of time on this matter. I've had a lot of counsel on this matter. And it's led to me something that was given to us in a stipulation. And we got the stipulation, I received it at 4:27 on Friday is when I got it. There again, at the 11th hour. I've had a lot of time to think about this over the weekend and the last, first part of this week. I got off to myself and I thought about all the comments that have been received. And it's troubling that what has happened. We've been pushed back into a corner by previous decisions that was made before we were here we're being told we can't do anything about it, and I don't like that. I don't see how, and my constituents do not see how something can't be done. I've met numerous times with Great River and their council and pleaded with them about how we could do this. They have made some strides to meet our goal, but our citizens are still not satisfied. They still don't understand how this happened. They don't understand who let them down, as Commissioner Stamps, one of his constituents, said. Somebody let us down. And in the stipulation that we got, it talks about something. And here's the part that I picked up on. It happened in the beginning when Great River came into our state. And so the previous commissioner and the staff worked with Great River. And they set up, from what I understand, perimeters and a docket. 115, 2021 AD 115 and 2021 AD 116. And so when they was working through this process to work with Great River, someone discontinued what the commission's final order was in approving those two dockets. But now, since we as a commission have been trying to get answers, we're bringing those requirements back. My question is, who stopped them? Who stopped that? Why did they stop it? Was it getting too detailed? It was asking for too much information? Was someone told to sit down and shut up? That's my question. And it goes back, the parties proposed shall be filed with the commission and docket 2021 AD 115 and 2021 AD 116, no later than 60 days following the commission's approval of this stipulation. So we're going to bring that stipulation, we're going to bring those orders back. But we discontinued them. Can someone tell me why we discontinued? I ain't got that answer. The other question is, in the hearing, I asked for two things that never have been answered. I asked for what the water costs when you bring it out of the ground, to when you treat it, to when you start shipping it off to the customer. I never got that answer. I asked how many certified operators they had. They gave me an answer, but that wasn't certified operators. They told me how many people they have access to construction through one of their subs. So we have multiple layers of subs coming in and doing work. That their profit gets added, and then Great River gets a return of 9% off of that. What did Great River promise the commission back when they came in? What did they promise? What did they tell them they were going to do? No one has an answer. You're welcome to speak, Mr. Leo.
Commissioner, it's unclear to me. Do you want me to answer some of your questions, or?
You can, but I don't understand why we had to wait till the 11th hour to get these stipulations to the commission for we can read. Y'all have had months to work. Y'all have had years to work on with this.
Are everybody okay with? Okay. Mr. Manuel, you recognize?
Yeah. Yeah, so Leo Manuel, counsel for Great River. You've had several questions, so I'll start with the one you just mentioned. The parties, well, first of all, we entered into a stipulation with the only entity that was involved in the proceedings. We filed a stipulation with the staff before the hearings that were held in December. This commission allowed 2 additional parties to intervene in the case on the day of the hearings. And so we really couldn't even discuss the case with those parties until they were made parties. In fact, we were not even aware anybody intended to become a party until the day of the hearings that were held.
What year are we talking about? What's the time?
December of 2024.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And, you know, this case has been pending since February of 2024. And so, you know, obviously, the holidays delayed us a little bit, Christmas and New Year's, but aside from that, you know, Great River, the Attorney General's office, and Mr. Arnold, we met several times. I'd say 3 or 4 between December and when this stipulation was filed. We worked pretty hard, actually, and pretty diligently. It took some time just to get through the administrative process at the Attorney General's office. I mean, that's a big organization, and to get specific terms agreed to requires some layer of approval, so that took a little bit of time, but we tried as hard as we could to try and address the issues that were expressed at the hearing by the 2 parties that intervened and participated. And I, for one, would thank them for their cooperation, their willingness to set aside time. The Attorney General's office, the Consumer Division, I think they're actually in the middle of a week-long trial right now that they were trying to prosecute during this time. So I think I would answer that question, that we tried our best to get it filed as soon as we could, and that's as soon as we could get it done. I apologize that we couldn't get it done quicker than that. And I'm sorry, Commissioner. With respect to your other questions, honestly, I can't remember, but I'm happy to address them if I can.
Well, the one was on the water. What does it cost to get the water out of the ground and get it treated, and then you ship it off from A to B? What does that cost? I didn't get that answer. I asked your witnesses. No one gave me that answer. No one gave us that answer. Because that's where it starts at. That's the cost. That's the first point.
Yes, sir. So, Commissioner, I would agree with you. You did ask that question at the hearing. We did not have witnesses available that could answer that question in the hearing.
But you said y'all was going to get back to me.
I agree with you.
And no one's called me.
No
one's called my staff.
No, you're right. You're right. And all I can tell you is, I'll stand here and tell you right now, we failed and did not get you that answer. You were correct in that.
And the systems operator, that's very important that we have system operators that are in the field. Like, you know, sometimes when we was in Natchez and we was listening to at their board of supervisors, those people said that sometimes it takes 2 to 3 hours to get someone there. So how is Great River going to manage that system way over there? They're so far spread out, a lot of these systems. How are you going to manage that? Those people deserve service. They're paying for a service. I mean, any other utility company, they're on it. And I understand there's growing pains, but these growing pains has been going on for 2021, 20 with Great River. When y'all came into this state, not you, but Great River, they knew what they were getting into. But our citizens have watched their rates go up, but their service hasn't went up to that same pace. Would you go to a grocery store if that service was like that? I mean, would you? If you wasn't getting the service and the prices kept going up?
So Commissioner, what I would say is Great River's operations model was known to the previous commission, certainly when they came into the state. It was explained pretty clearly about how they intended to operate, at least in the interim, while they were entering the state. That model is to hire licensed, experienced contractors and to hold them to specific requirements in terms of service and cost. They have contracts entered into that they manage to do that. We did testify at the hearings as to how many employees those contractors have and are available to service systems that Great River owns and operates. The breakdown of the different types of licenses that exist. There are several different kinds, so that answer is not as straightforward as your question might presume. I know we were putting some information together, and I actually thought we had provided that, but I can't commit to you that we have. So I will follow up on that and get you the number of licensed individuals at each tier that are available to operate. I do recall, and we could go back and look at the transcript, but I do recall that we did testify as to certain service requirements that are required, meaning our contractor has to have operators within a certain distance or time of every system that's owned and operated by Great River. And I'm not aware of any breach of that arrangement or requirement. Again, if there's any specific complaint for a specific customer, we're happy to address those. By looking at our records, there's a work order that's created every time there's a service call, and there's, along the way, time slots that designate when somebody showed up, what they did, yada, 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 and we can provide those records for a specific complaint, but to, the only other thing I can point to is what's just required by the contract in terms of time and distance, in which case service folks are to be available.
We go back to people are intervening. The average working person in our state, or retired person, or disabled, can't take off. My folks on the coast are in Natchez. It's a stretch for them to come up here. And now your stipulation is either we take it or it's all off. But you still haven't provided us all the information. You just said it. You get back to it. You've had an ample time to, Great River has, to get us to let's sit down and figure this out. I could not operate a business like this. I mean, the other utility companies, when we ask them for something, they get it to us. They return phone calls. There's been mass confusion about this tier level, and we've talked about this numerous times. It's confusion. Our residents, our citizens don't understand this tier rate. It appears that we're on a flat rate because there was and I go back to this lady in Natchez. She's paying a flat rate. She's on a fixed income. She went from $53 to 100, might as well say $108. Where does it end? Service hasn't been increased that much. Where does it end? So it doesn't matter if she's being a good steward or not. Her water meters, when we had our questions, it's difficult for me to understand, and it's difficult for them to understand. If they're being a good steward, they're not getting credit for it because they're on a flat rate. And I know numerous people like that on the coast, and I can only talk about the coast, and I can hear, I've talked to these people, they're on a flat rate. They're not getting any credit. And now you're telling us that if we go in and we put meters, there's an issue in Natchez with the meters, there's a question if they're reading correctly. We had the gentleman that used to own it said there was no problem with his meters. And so, but y'all are saying there are, so you put them on a flat rate. It appears to me you're putting them on a flat rate where you can recover and bring your income up, where you can afford your note. That's what it appears. And they have, I mean, it's just not Natchez. It's on the coast too. And now you plan, y'all had a plan, y'all, Great River, Central States, talked about how they were going to come in with new technology. Where's the technology at? Where's it at?
Okay, I'll try and address as much as I can remember. So Great River does have tiered rates. The stipulation that's been in front of the commission since November has proposals to try and resolve some of those. I would agree with you that there are pros and cons to having a tiered rate. It's not uncommon. It wasn't Great River's first choice. It was really something that we were requested to do by the previous commission, and Great River is open to keeping the tiered rates or to collapsing them into a.
Mr. Leo, can you
Yes, sir.
repeat that? The tiered rates was a suggestion by the previous commission?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And again, Great River's open to either scenario. If the rates are designed properly, it should generate the same price and same revenues and such. And so that's the answer on the tiered rates. With respect to metered rates, obviously, Great River would only have the opportunity to charge metered rates for water systems that have meters. We have provided information as to which systems have meters and which do not. We've also provided which systems have meters that we are not currently reading for the reasons that you just mentioned. Great River is in the process of trying to rectify all of that, such that all of the systems that have meters can have reliable meters and have them read and have meter rates restored. Natchez is undergoing that situation as we speak.
Process. It's a process.
That I agree with.
That's irritating. And I understand that my frustration is coming from these people that are talking to me in the ear when I get out of it. You know, I went to the parts house. I'm an electrician. And a gentleman behind a cubicle said, "Hey, I need to talk to you." I said, "Okay, what you want to talk about?" He said, "Great River." I didn't know who that guy was. But I talked to him. He's not my salesman. But he can afford it, but he's concerned about his neighbor that can't afford it, that's living on a fixed income. You know, people, I've had people in this room say that I made a statement and they said it wasn't true. And I've got to document right here that it's a true statement. And it's irritating that people in this room are saying that I can't speak for the other commission, that I made a false statement from here. And that's irritating. That's one thing I didn't do, is make a false statement. Everything that I'm saying is coming from my citizens, the people that I represent. I represent the Northern Commissioners, people, and the Central. I represent them all. And I take offense of someone saying that I lied from here. Let's just go ahead and say it outright. That's what that person said. You wouldn't have done that years ago. That's all I can say without me calling you out. It's irritating. We're fighting for the citizens. Look, we understand. I have one in my district. I have a system that's in terrible shape. You know it. And those citizens are hollering and screaming, and I'm doing the best I can. But you know what happened in that place? Government let us down. Government let us down. They didn't do their job. I do understand, and I've taken this into consideration. All the time that this was going on, we had COVID. And no one knew where to go. I mean, people were scared. We didn't know what was going to happen into our economy. And all of this time this was going on, Great River was in our state. I get that. I'll give that to them. They was in our state. But what I don't understand is they have not taken into consideration, when they came into our state, they should have looked at the financials and see where we were at. I don't think they did. I don't think they were concerned. And it's like Commissioner Stamp banged. It was the previous commissioners. This is a new group. This is a new sheriffs in town, as Michael Jordan said. This is the new sheriffs. And we're trying to do what's right for both parties, but it seems like Great River is not concerned about our citizens. Because there was 20 systems in my district to keep these these rates down. They had to go out and buy more. That's the way it's set up in every state. I challenge anyone to go look at Great River or Central States in Louisiana, Texas, and read the comments. It's the same comments I get. So they have a problem with service in every area, not just in Mississippi. It's the same service. I'm sorry, folks, but I'm passionate about this because I keep hearing people in my ear, in my head right now. They're not satisfied. Who let us down? We're going to dig into that. I'm sorry.
Every commissioner on the, both of y'all have a right to air what you think, and I appreciate your comments. Commissioner Stamps, you have any comments?
You done? You know what?
For now, I think.
Oh, all right.
You can stay.
The most costly thing
Thank you,
in our government.
Leo, you can stay up here. I'm sure I've got a
Yeah.
few questions. If you can.
You can go ahead, Chris.
Just for clarification, like we've already said, all this happened in a previous commission, correct? As far as the formula rate plan design and all the things leading up to filing a formula rate plan, the outline or Great River coming into the state was under a previous administration.
Yeah, that's correct, yes, sir.
So all this was done before we got here,
Uh,
other than the filing of the 2024 and
Correct.
rate plan, right?
The
So-
filing that's before you today was filed in February of 2024, so obviously y'all were sworn in at that time, but
Sure.
to your point,
But the formula rate plan design, because it's the first one
Yes.
we've ever had in Mississippi for a water district.
That-
All that was designed by the previous commission, and Great River negotiated all that with those guys.
yes, it was all approved by the previous
Okay.
commission. Yes, sir.
So basically, we're trying to navigate a system that was set up by the previous commission in a kind of an experimental way, because it's the first one in the state that we've had. Is that accurate?
I would say it is fair that what we're trying to do in these proceedings is follow through on a set of policies that were established by the previous commission. I would slightly disagree that it's unique. The formulary process was modeled after all the formulary processes that exist for the other large utilities in the state. So
So
the
it's
process itself is pretty routine and pretty common, but I would agree with you, it's the first time it's been applied to a water or sewer utility in Mississippi.
If you look back on the notes, we can see quite a bit of discussion on how to design it, because it hasn't been done. So obviously, that's kind of where we're at, is we're still dealing with that, trying to understand how a statewide water system would work. And so people at home are confused, and just for clarity, if this commission voted no on the formula rate plan, do the rates go back to the original rate, $30, $40, whatever they were in the individual district?
So I can't answer that question because I don't know what my client would decide to do. It would depend. There are legal rights that Great River has.
So there's a possibility if we vote no, they would go back to their original rates?
Yeah, that's a possibility. Of course, I guess the way to put it is Great River has to follow by law whatever orders are issued by the commission, unless a court stays that decision. Then, yeah, the rates will go to whatever the commission orders them to be unless a court otherwise alters that.
Of course, this commission will not set rates, but your testimony right there that it could go back obviously makes us want to make it go back, because that's where the people want it. So I appreciate your candor in that. Just so the people at home know, that's who we're talking to. And so with that statement, it kind of helps us have a pathway now, right? Because obviously the issue we have is not with, obviously we are trying to navigate a system that we didn't set up. We have constituents that are upset. We have questions that are going unanswered, like Commissioner Carr has requested. So it's hard for us to make a decision based on those facts when we don't have all the facts that we requested. So we understand that the formula rate plan was set up. We understand that the previous commission did it. We just have more questions than we have answers at this point. We want to do the right thing by Great River and by the ratepayers. And again, if there's a possibility for the rates to go down, as you testified, then obviously that's what everybody wants. But we will not set rates. We're not that body. So we don't pretend to know your business. All we're doing is asking the questions to try to figure out how we got to where we're at. Commissioner Stamps, that's all my questions.
Oh, I just got a legal question first. That was some new information for me. I had never heard of an ability for a rate to go back. So could the council articulate the pathway for a rate to go back?
So,
Because I don't want people to be leaving here thinking that if we vote this down, that their rate's gonna go back. So could someone from legal tell me that pathway, and not, you can go second, but
okay.
our lawyer can go first.
Well, Commissioner, I don't want to speak for Great Rivers Council.
Well, just the pathway.
But
the
I think that's
legal
what,
pathway.
I think that's what he's saying, is if the commission elected to vote this filing, to deny the rate increase, he's not at liberty to speak for his client at this time on what they would do. I think that's what,
But the statement was clear, it could go back.
Yeah, let me.
Well, my
let me-
question is, what's the legal pathway for it to go back?
Let me
Hold
try
on,
and.
no, before you talk, what is the legal pathway?
the legal
for the-
pathway would be for them to not appeal that decision.
Well, that wouldn't make it go back, though, right?
Correct.
So it would be a new FRP that would,
Right, so
would
give me
spit
the
out
legal steps
right.
to do what they just said could potentially happen.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so instead of, sorry, Commissioner Stamps. So basically, the statement was, if we voted no, could they go back to where they were? And the answer was possibly. So Commissioner Stamps is asking, so if what is the process of getting it, if we got from whatever the flat rate is, 104 for water and sewer, or 89, whatever it is, back to the 30, 40, 50 bucks, whatever it was in that district, that would take a new FRP, right? To get the rates back down to
It
where
would
they were.
it would go back to what it was, the previous rate before this filing. If we were to deny this increase, if the commission were to deny this increase, then it would simply remain at what it was before that filing,
What about the bond covenant?
which is what it is now.
What about the bond covenant?
The bonded rate.
That would go away, because
If it got-
again, I'm sitting here speculating on something that's probably not going to happen, and I would appreciate if Mr. Manuel would.
I just want to clear the air. I don't want nobody to lead to that's watching this.
Exactly, and
They
I'm
will turn
trying
around
to,
and say,
I'm
if
trying
we
to do
vote
that
this
too.
down, it's going to go back to $40 a month.
Mr. Manuel was trying, I can anticipate, I don't want to speak for you, but he was trying to hedge himself, and he doesn't want to speak for his client on a hypothetical situation. But he can speak for himself, I suppose.
Let me try and address it slightly separately. There were rates that were approved by the Public Service Commission that were in place the day all three of you took office. Okay? Great River filed its FRP filing as it was required to do by orders of the previous commission. That FRP filing sought an increase in rates. Those rates went into effect as was authorized by law. The increase in the rate went into effect in August of 2024. Those are the rates that are currently being charged, subject to refund under protection of bond. If you approve the stipulation or the filing, the rates will remain at whatever is approved by this commission. If the commission takes an action that does not approve the company's filing or the stipulation that is before you, then then Great River has two choices. They can either accept the order that's issued, or they can appeal that order. If your order tells us that you deny the petition that is on file with you, then by operation, That would revert the rates back to what they were the day you took office. Not the rates that existed 5 years ago or 8 years ago or what have you. That's,
What was that rate?
well, every system, so Great River acquired over 130 systems all over the state. Every system had a different rate when it was acquired. A dozen of them had no rate.
So there were people who were paying no water bill
For decades, yes, sir.
for decades. So ineffective governance is the most costly thing in this country, especially when it comes to local government and water systems. I came up in one. That's how I cut my teeth fighting the Jackson issue. But what we cannot do is double down on ineffective governance, because ineffective governance put the previous commission in a situation where they had to make some decisions to solve a problem where people were out here with no rate for decades. So they were in a situation where they had to make some really tough decisions. They just chose to, this is just my speculation, I don't know exactly, I haven't talked to one of them about this point I'm about to make. Let me just put it this way. The decision about the rate was pushed to after the election.
About who?
So my point I'm trying to make is we got handed a bag and we got to deal with it. Now, there are 3 people who know all these answers. And one of them's in the room. And if you're not going to call him up to ask him a question about it, I don't think we're having the proper discourse. Because there's a person in this room who sat behind this bench, who had all the information, all the briefings, and all these things. And if you're not going to call him up and ask him a question about it, we're not having a healthy conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Stamps.
So
Well, I'm
that's my second point. My third point is that the citizens identified that they had a governance problem. And the citizens voted these people out. So now we have to govern. It's a crappy bag. But at some point, we cannot do what ineffective local government did and not set rates and not govern. We can't double down on some of the ineffectiveness of a previous commission. They had some great things that they did during that term, and they had some things that we all have some questions about, which is why we won our elections, because those things were true. But at some point, we have to make a decision. That's what regulation is about. This business is not about making people happy. This is about duty. And we all put our hand on the Bible to do a duty. And duty has to be done no matter if we agree with it, like it. It's part of this duty that we're in. And I don't want people to think that if we vote this, that we was already voted down last month, that it's going to go back to some other rate. I don't see a pathway. Nobody's articulated what that pathway is. And if people are going to walk out of here thinking they're going to go back to paying no water bill for decades to come in the future, I do not want people to think that if we vote this down, and then we just said that there were people out here who were having water bills or not paying water bills for decades, they're going to go back to not paying a water bill. I don't want people to think that. And we all know that this is going to go, my last statement I want to ask the attorney, if this gets voted down again and they appeal, will they be allowed to add the legal fees of their legal department to the rate and put back into what the citizens are going to have to pay?
Yes, Commissioner, that is an allowable expense.
So these are,
And Commissioner, I do want to clarify that should they appeal a decision, a no vote, the rate would stay as it is now under bond until this is resolved.
so the statement that this will go back, the rate will go back to where it was before we got elected is not accurate.
Correct.
The rate will go to where it is today.
The rate would, were there to be a no vote and there is no appeal. The rate would go back to where it was before that, before the filing last year when you took office.
Sure, so it's a correct, I guess, to clarify the
correct or not?
statement.
Yeah.
Which one was it right?
Well, it's a hypothetical possibility that it could happen if there were a no vote.
That the bonded rate would go away and it'd go back to what was set previous to the bonded rate.
That
Is
is,
what was testified. Could happen because we don't.
it is in a very literal sense, it is a possibility. In a realistic sense, I think what Kyle just said addresses that more thoroughly.
Sure. So again, to reiterate, for clarity, it's not going to go back to what it was prior to Wes taking office, but it could possibly, depending on what the company decides, go back to the pre-bonded increase. Is that correct? That's pretty much what you stated,
Yeah,
right?
that's correct. I mean, it's.
Because you don't know what they would do.
Because I don't know what you're gonna do. I
Correct.
don't know what your order's gonna say. You know, that's the issue. I mean, if we have to evaluate the decision you make and determine, we have to make a legal decision, and I
Sure.
can't speculate as to what that decision would be until I know what a decision is.
Appreciate your comments. Commissioners, any more questions? Yes, sir.
You know, in government, we all get faced with challenges when we get elected. Those challenges are sometimes easy to jump over, and sometimes they're hard. I think we're too far in the game to be pointing back at a previous commission. We got to go forward. Even though I may disagree with some things and decisions that were made, we got to go forward and lead the state. And I don't know what your lawyers make on your legal team, but when you take this case to the Supreme Court and that case stretches out however long, and I know your lawyers don't make what our lawyers make, you know, if we could set a precedent where your lawyers would make what our lawyers make, that would be something different. We talking about private company lawyers that make $400 an hour and they got a team of them, and they're gonna lump all those fees right back on top of the rate, and it's gonna come back to us, and the Supreme Court is gonna say, do your job. Everybody knows that, whether they wanna say it or not. If they go back to the Supreme Court, they're gonna come back and say, Public Service Commission, why are you not doing your job? Is to set a rate. We cannot double down on the ineffective governance at the local level and the incomplete governance of people who sat here prior. At some point, we want to set a rate. And no one has presented to me that there's a possibility of a lower rate than what's on the table today. No one. They may speak to the possibility, but I have not seen anybody say that that's true. A possibility is like a 0.1%, but there's a 99.9% opportunity that it will be higher. So, and then if we don't set a rate, how will the improvements necessary for those systems who were paying no water bill for decades, how will they get the service fixes that are necessary? Because if people weren't paying bills for decades, that means there was no maintenance being done, which means people have bad water service somewhere, which is the problem that the previous governance was trying to fix, even though they just getting, you know, you got 4 years. So I don't know how we get the quality in those areas where people were paying no water for decades fixed. And it's a heck of a shock to go from no water bill for decades to $100 a month. Low rates are just as dangerous as high rates, even more so. That means you're not doing anything but going to the conference every year or going, and you're not governing. And if we kick the can down the road even further, I believe it's going to cause worse results for the ratepayers. And I'm just as pissed off as Commissioner Carr is about it. I may not articulate it in the same manner or fashion, but my folks these are all our folks. These are our neighbors that have a very bad situation. You're making $900 a month and you got to pay $100 a month for a water bill because of ineffective governments at the local level, which compounded by ineffective and incomplete governments at the state level. And now the state's presented with a situation where it's going to be even more. You know it's going to have these legal fees on top of it. My next question is, when is the next filing for Great Rivers formula rate plan?
February 28th.
It would be due
February 28th.
Yes, sir.
So we vote this down. February 28th is in a couple of weeks. What would that filing, is it projected to look like?
I don't know the answer to that question. Great Rivers, the filing's based upon a historic test year, and they're trying to close their books for 2024 as we speak. I was actually hoping to get some view of that in the next week or so, but I don't know as I sit here today.
So you know, will you restate that statement, historical test year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The FRP calls for what's called a historical test year, which means it's based upon actual costs that are incurred. There's no
That's
projections.
Just a follow-up to my earlier question, that it was kind of a new thing, so that just kind of reiterates the point I was trying to make earlier, that there's a test year, because we're trying to figure out how it works moving forward in that test year.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I confused the chairman.
No. I'm just clarity.
The term test year is a term of art.
Sure, it's the first year it's happened.
That is a concept in every rate case that's filed in every state, including Mississippi, for the last 75 years. So
Thank you. Commissioner Stamps, so kind of a follow-up on Commissioner Stamps. I agree, we're here to do our duty. So what is that duty? So to Commissioner Stamps' point, you've already addressed the issue of nobody paying any water bills. We know that's not going back to no water bills because you had a rate prior. So that concern is not there. So we're good there. We know nobody's going to get out with no water bill. Yes, we need to fund water systems 100%. I do think, as Commissioner Stamps has said, that extremely low rates can be just as dangerous or detrimental as extremely high rates. We don't pretend to know what the rate should be. We don't set rates. But for your testimony today, the legal fees, as Commissioner Stamps talks about, are not guaranteed because we don't know what the company's going to do. So we can't assume that's going to happen or that's going to be incurred. We can't assume anything because the company's not here. You are their counsel, but the reaction to this, we don't know. So what we do know is that there's a possibility of the bonded rate going away. There is no possibility of people having zero water bill. That's what we know. Those are the fixed guard, or the fixed facts that we know. So with all the questions we have on what goes into the formula rate plan leads us to this point today. We're all three new. We're trying to discern what was crafted by a previous commission. And we're not going to try to rehash that, but in my position, it is germane because all of that goes into a formula rate plan that spits out a number that Great River can charge. All that data goes into that formula rate plan, and all that's calculated as an algorithm to spit out a rate, kind of just simplified. So if we have questions about all the data that goes into the FRP, then it is in fact germane to what that formula or algorithm spits out at the end of that practice, or at the end of that equation, if you will. That leads us to where we're at, is that, as Commissioner Carr has said, he's trying to discern that the capital investments, the company is doing what it said it would do to the original commission, justifying that formula rate plan and the data going in to spit out the dollar amount of what the bill should be. And that's the discussion we're all having. We don't have all that data. And I think, part of it is a frustration because our constituents are not happy. We get that. But we have to make the right decision. And Commissioner Stamps and I both served in the legislature. We made some really tough decisions. But the bottom line is, you check your principles. Golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. Due diligence is our job. This commission's job is due diligence. And that's all we're seeking to do. It's not to be dilatory, it's not to go against anybody, it's to do our due diligence because that's what we're tasked to do. We take it serious. And unfortunately, it's a slow process. But that's where we find ourselves, and that's why it's taken this long for us to get to where we're at, because the questions we originally had are not answered. And some of that is a learning curve, maybe. Some of it is the data that we didn't get or that we can't rely on, which we've had that discussion. You were in my office, and we had discussion when I met with Great River constituents with the legislature in Lafayette County. We were both confused with what the truth was because we were both told different things. And that's not your fault. It's part of that confusion of what is actually happening, what is actually being done. And I think that is, again, the confusion because all those capital investments are going into this formula rate plan that spits out this number. So we know, again, the facts that we know. Thank you again for your candor. We don't know what the company will do. We vote no. It could go back to what it was when we took office. Everybody will be paying a water bill. So that investment's going back into the system. We don't know. There could be legal fees. Could not be. We don't know. So we're dealing with the facts that we know today is all we can deal with what's in front of us. So again, Commissioner Carr, you have any statements?
Going back to the docket 2021, when it was discontinued,
Yes, sir. I can address that. Yes, sir.
okay, there was no oversight. We don't know. They're short-staffed. I mentioned that COVID was going on. Who was verifying in the field of what Great River was doing?
I'll do the best I can to answer that question. The previous commission, when it approved acquisition of the systems, each time systems were approved to be acquired, they required that Great River provide certain reporting information within certain time periods. And those dockets that you mentioned previously in your comments were the dockets that were established to house all of that reporting and information. And that was complied with, and it's still there. You can go and look at it, if you choose. When the commission approved the FRP process in 2023, the commission decided to discontinue that reporting because it expected to have whatever it needed through the FRP process. Now,
That's hypothetical.
well, I was part of the discussions. That was the intent. Now, to be fair, it's totally understandable that you're a different group of people than the previous commission, and you have different questions, maybe the same questions, maybe you have different needs for information than they did, and we're perfectly comfortable accommodating whatever different types of information this commission deems appropriate and necessary. The stipulation is the result of discussions with the Attorney General's office and the staff to anticipate the types of reporting or information that this commission may need. But if that even falls short, we're happy to supplement with whatever types of reporting, whatever types of audits. Great River has provided, I guess what's being glossed over here is this proceeding's gone on for a year, and everything that was filed was audited by the staff and their consultant.
But who confirmed it? They're required by statute to have an engineer in-house. Who goes out and inspects? That's the problem. We're not comparing apples to apples here. So I may look at a job and say, I can get this done for this. Commissioner Brown says, I can do it for this. And we may be thousands of dollars apart, but we're still going to get the same result. So at that time, when all of this was going on, where was the oversight? Who was checking them and say, they said they need this, but I may be different. But now that's in the law. That's in here. That's in the rates.
Yeah.
And that's like they said, that's the previous commissioner. They're not up here now. It's us. And we're asking these questions because we are being asked, I know I'm being asked these questions.
Sure. So I can't directly speak for the staff as to their resources but
Excuse me, in defense of the staff, they wasn't, these ladies and these men over here was not involved in that, from my understanding. It was a totally different staff.
But in any state, I guess the only thing I can say to that point is Great River is happy to accommodate any kind of physical inspections of their plants or systems. I know I've offered to you in your office numerous times over the last year to have guided tours, inspections. I'll tell you, Great River's new operations manager gave Mr. Arnold a tour of his site 5 days ago at his request.
I'm going to answer that question. My chief investigator and a gentleman in my office and I went out and inspected 8 or 10 of them since y'all picked it. I was told by counsel from the commission, Commissioner, you can't do that. That's trespassing. What? Myself being in a trade, when I call in for an inspection or I don't call in for an inspection, that inspector can come on that job at any given time. He doesn't have to have my permission to be on my property. If I'm under construction, he can come on that job. And so I'm being told that I can't do that. I have to be invited. I never went inside the perimeter, chain link fence. I walked around and seen everything. I took pictures, sent them to you. They had a well that the lid was open, a lift station. And if a child would have got in there, we'd have never known he was gone. That's the kind of service that we're paying for or have been. Now we get to the point where we're saying, hold up a second. You're still charging these rates, but you're not providing any services. It's terrible. And our constituents are.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a statement on behalf of the staff regarding a
Yes,
comment of Commissioner
Yes,
Clark?
you recognize.
I believe, Commissioner, that you stated who was going behind Great River to check what they were doing. And I just want to state for the record that the staff had a consultant on contract for Great River's rate case. And all of the consultants and the staff's review of all expenses incurred by Great River are documented. Those have been provided to all the parties of record. The AG has those, the commission has those. But I did want to clarify that the staff disagrees with your characterization because all of that was documented by Larkin and Associates, our consultant, who assisted the staff in their review in the rate case. We also had a consultant for this FRP filing, UPC out of New Orleans. And that review is also documented. So I just wanted to clarify that.
What's the staff's recommendation?
For the filings that are before you today, the staff recommends that they be approved as outlined in our stipulation. And I can't speak for Mr. Manuel, but what he said is this stipulation was filed several months ago between the staff and Great River. When Mr. Manuel sent out this amended and restated stipulation to the commission on Friday afternoon, he stated that we had the red line versions available so you could see the changes between the originally filed stipulation, which was filed before the evidentiary hearing, and this amended and restated stipulation before you, so that you can see the changes that have been made since this new stipulation includes Mr. Arnold and the AG, and they're represented here today as well. And Mr. Manuel, if you want to speak more to the changes that have culminated in this amended stipulation,
Sure.
that's up to you.
Make
Whoa,
one-
whoa, whoa, whoa.
one-
Stop. Wait.
Make
Commissioner
one
Carr,
comment.
you're recognized.
So in the initial rate filing, what was the position of the staff?
We recommended approval of the filing.
The original one? The
In
original,
in the rate case that established and approved the FRP. And our recommendation is publicly on file.
In what year? What year are you talking about?
I'm talking about the original. I'm not talking about in
Back in
20,
2020 or 2021?
yeah, the original one. That was before y'all were there. I don't think that y'all were on board on this. The staff, not you, the other staff, the previous staff.
I can only speak to this filing and the rate case. I'm not sure what filing you're referring to, but the staff has on file a stipulation for these FRP annual updates, and our recommendation was publicly filed in the rate case.
Okay, I have another question. I've asked him, made comments about it. Okay, so you were given the information, you were given pictures. Who took the pictures? Did you take the pictures? Who took the pictures? The engineer take the picture? So you're being provided information that you put in, you check off the boxes. They provided this, they provided this. But was it economical? Was it frugal, what they did? And that's in this rate filing. So they were just, from what this says, it was discontinued. So that means, but now, since we're pushing back, they're bringing that back, those checks and balances. So those checks and balances was moved, but now they're not. Now we're making them bring them forward. They're voluntarily bringing those back. But back then, they didn't. They discontinued. It says it right here. He says it. That's what I'm reading. I'd like someone to tell me I'm reading it wrong.
Well, Commissioner, I can just say that staff is not a party in this case, nor were we a party in the rate filing. We've been an advisor to the commission. So I think this is a improper forum to question the staff about the specifics of that.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Commissioner Carr.
Before you talk.
Sure.
I'm a firm believer in trusting folks. I appreciate the staff's work. They worked hard. And I don't know where we're going with this conversation. Because if we're not going to ask a previous commissioner to ask these questions, it's not right to ask them.
I agree, and I do think there's going to be an appropriate time to do that. We're going to go down that path, Commissioner, and I do think that we owe it to our constituents, we owe it to the people of Mississippi to go down that path, and we're going to. And it's good to know now, Commissioner Carr, if you have any questions about projects, capital investments, if they were done or not, the private contractor that they speak of should be able to have those answers for you. And so you said you had help making sure those capital improvements are executed and completed, so that if he has any questions, he can contact you and get that information.
I will say
for
that
clarity.
the staff had hired a consultant to assist our staff in its thorough
Gotcha.
review.
So the consultants will know if those capital investments were done and costs and those kind of things, so if we get in touch with them. So to make sure Commissioner Carr has his answers, his questions answered. We can refer to that.
I'm not saying that it wasn't done. I'm saying, was it frugal? That's what I'm saying.
Commissioner, if I may, and Ms. Kruger's already answered, we're getting into you questioning how the staff approaches its job. It's a different
Jeff,
agency.
Mr. Lee, the only reason I go down that path is because it was brought up. I didn't go down that path. The path that was brought up is the only reason I followed up with that, is because Ms. Kruger did bring it up, and I appreciate her bringing it up.
Respectfully, the commission brought it up.
Well, no,
Commissioner Carr,
the response was that we had a contractor go out and do that, which I appreciate that. And so all that was a follow-up to say, okay, if that contractor did it, then Commissioner Carr can speak to that because you have those documents to make sure that what he's asking has been done because you've done the work. I'm trying to support you in that. So again, to Commissioner Stamp's point, thanks for letting us know that, and we'll get Commissioner Carr with those reports and try to get the answers answers to the questions he has. So again, thank you for getting that done for us. So I'm not taking issue. The only reason I bring it back up is because it was brought up by Ms. Kruger. And so, and again, it's just a follow-up. Appreciate that. And so, any of the questions he has about those capital improvements, he'll get with y'all to make sure that they were done per the contractor that you hired. Is that correct?
I'm not sure about those specifics, but all of the data requests were responded to, and the staff.
Great. Again, we'll just let him follow up with y'all on those questions, on those capital improvements he has questions on, and then y'all can provide those to him. So I appreciate that. That should answer your questions, Commissioner. But I think we've spent enough time on this. Do you have a motion?
I make a motion that the commission deny the 2024 FRP annual report, proposed rate schedule for water and wastewater operations filed by the Great River Utility Operation Company, LLC, and docket numbers 2024 UN 26 and 2024 UN 27. I have a motion.
I think that's a proper motion, and the only reason I'll say that is because of the testimony by counsel for Great River. The possibility that the rates may go back down, that was news to me, so I'll second your motion based on that. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Move on to item 4. Discussion and possible action regarding the proposed docket number 2024 UN 64 and UN 65, Canton Municipal Utilities. Do we have a motion on that, Commissioner Stamps?
I can speak to that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
No, before the commission today is an order referring this matter to Commissioner Stamps.
Correct.
Great, thank you. Any questions?
That's what we're asking, just to refer to me.
Okay, yep.
Does that need a motion?
Yep, so we have a motion to refer it to Commissioner Stamps?
Yes.
A second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, docket number 2024 UA 105, Bluestown Solar LLC, order referrals. I think that's to be referred to Commissioner Carr.
Yes.
I'll make the motion to refer that to Commissioner Carr. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to item number 6, discussion and possible action regarding proposed order of docket number 2019 UA 232, order granting in part and denying in part, motion to compel discovery. I think Ms. Dixon is out, sick, so we recognize Stephanie or Kyle. Which one you want?
Okay.
Kyle, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I'll present this one. Before the commission is an order granting in part, denying in part, a motion to compel filed by Southern Renewable Energy Association on Entergy's IRP docket. The proposed order grants their initial request for unredacted load growth figures and instructs EML to produce the information pursuant to the non-disclosure agreement that was previously signed by SREA. Basis for that finding is twofold. First, Entergy has not explained how disclosure of that information presents an unreasonable risk of harm to the company when the same information for later years, in 29 to 24, was left unredacted in the IRP. As such, EML has not satisfied the standards of its own NDA for withholding information as, quote, highly sensitive and protected. Secondly, Entergy's argument that the contested redactions shield confidential customer information is unconvincing, as no customer identifying information is actually contained in the redacted figures. And the proposed order Next, denies SREA's request for information concerning the Delta Blues power station on the basis that this request is premature. The IRP rule has a built-in requirement for electric utilities to file a midpoint supply side update halfway through the IRP process, which must address material changes in the IRP, including new self-build options for capacity. This information that SRE is seeking in its motion to compel will presumably be contained in this midpoint supply side update. Therefore, the order is denying that part of their motion to compel. I can answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioners? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there any more business to come before the commission?
What I will say is, we had a pretty good meeting today. I appreciate everybody's involvement. And I agree with Commissioner Carr. Calling somebody a liar is fighting words in my world. Question folks' integrity is fighting words in my world, especially in this space, because we all fought to get here, and the staff worked hard to do their job. No matter which staff has been here, they've done their job and under the direction of the leadership of this commission. And I want to let the staff know I appreciate you. I appreciate your hard work and some of the tight decisions you got to make. And I don't just have your back behind closed doors. I have your back in the open public as well. So thank you very much. And I look forward to a healthy investigation to the Great River issue, that all of the truths that are hidden behind closed doors. But I agree. My point about previous commissioners, that we're not going to call them up and make them answer questions when they sit in the daggone room. We're not serious about investigating anything. We're just putting on a show.
Amen.
So I look forward to, well, if you want to come up and talk, come up and talk. Oh, you know.
Hey, Commissioner Stamps, if you have questions, we can ask. We're still in.
Well,
we're still
Commissioner
in-
Bailey, come on up and answer Commissioner Carr's questions about the governance of the Great River Utility while you were under a public service commission. Somebody give me some popcorn.
Good evening,
Mr. Bailey, you're recognized.
I mean, I'll do my best. I know
It's
it's
a tight issue.
situation. I get it. Heck, I'm frustrated as you guys are as well. But we also worked our tail off throughout this process, getting the best information we could from the good folks with the Public Service Commission staff, from the Public Utility staff, all the consultants that were involved. It was as you say, sort of breaking ground, a new way of creating rate structures for a large set of utility owners, or a large set of independent utilities owned under a umbrella organization. And we did what we thought was the best thing possible at the time with the information that we had.
Did y'all know, were y'all privy to what the rates were going to be prior, when you voted on this? Did Great River let you know that the rates would be $70, $80?
No, sir. You know, we certainly had an idea of where the rates would potentially go based on, rates were.
What did you?
The consolidation of numbers throughout an entire, customer base. Yes, the tier thing was brought up because of the way different technology used in the production of water, in the treatment of wastewater. Not all that's the same, so you're trying to accommodate and deal with those on location to location.
So you said an idea. What was your idea that it would go to?
I cannot say at this time. I just don't know then. I mean, we knew we were looking at rate structures that were virtually non-existent for individual utilities, and some that were more far along. And you're trying to create something that was fair across multiple locations. I get it. I know it's frustrating for you guys, but we did what we could at the time with the best information provided us by very capable individuals, trusted lawyers, trusted consultants, and others to help us take us down a road that we thought we were making the best progress on, and trying to do that in a way to incrementally build into a rate structure that was not punitive all at once, or punitive at all, hopefully, but certainly take into account the expenditures were made. The Department of Health as well as the DEQ both submitted letters indicating that this was a needed activity in the state to help bring these systems up to compliance.
I tell you what,
to
let's-
protect human health and the environment.
I think it's wrong venue. I'm gonna go ahead and,
Commissioner Carr has some questions
I know we're gonna,
about governance.
I just want to make,
okay.
you made a statement just now, and I made a statement. You said, by the information that was given to you by these fine people and those fine people.
Not the actual ones, but, not these actual people, but,
Yeah, but not us, but I'm talking about the staff. So they've been given information. So there was a disconnect. It says it. It was a disconnect where y'all's oversight stopped, or someone's oversight stopped, while all of this work was going on. So I understand the information that was given, and I understand it goes into a box and it checks off. But you just admitted, you didn't know where the rates were going. We know where they were going. Another question was, it was mitigated back in '23 that y'all would slow the rates down. But in '24, when these gentlemen and I got here, Jack in the Box come out. And then we start getting these phone calls about rates just going up and up and up. You didn't know that. That's what you just said.
Well, it certainly was not intentional to leave.
I didn't say it was
anybody doing that.
intentional.
I mean, I would be, if things were different a year or so ago, I'd be sitting up there taking the same questions as well, but it didn't work out that
Yeah.
way, and vice versa.
I get it.
We'll be
And I'm
dealing
not
with that.
saying anyone is, what I'm saying is, where was the oversight? Where was the checks and balances as this process was going on? As they were acquiring these systems and these costs were being built? Who was looking at that? Why it was going on? Not when it was consolidated and presented to these folks. It was as it was going on.
Well, that is
Who
what the
was
continual
saying-
process as a formula rate plan certainly entails and anticipates evaluating all these expenditures and capital improvements and so on and so forth to try to determine what is that reasonable rate, just and reasonable, going forward for those ratepayers. We were working, we were trying. And we see that throughout other utilities, as it was mentioned, the formula rate plans, massive capital expenditures does have impacts on rates depending on how that is accounted for, put in the rate base, the ROI, ROR, all the acronyms we come to love, and you take that into account going forward. Is it the situation that we wanted? Probably not. But it doesn't say there's not opportunities to help resolve it. And my hat's off to you gentlemen trying to find that. I really do. Thank you for trying to find a path forward and resolving that. But I do take offense to continue getting called out that we screwed up. We did not screw up. Perhaps we might have made the best decision at the time. You gentlemen have made decisions from the floor of the legislature or House. Maybe it wasn't the best decision at the time, but you did it based on the information you had. We did the same thing. I'm willing to work with you any way I can based on my experience over that time to help get us to a spot that is satisfactory for your constituents now. Willing to do that. But
I have 3 questions.
yes, sir.
Why wasn't the AG's office, and I know you can't answer, this is all hindsight questions, I get it. Why wasn't the AG's office, consumer protection, not involved? You didn't know, I get it.
That's called that they're at liberty to involve themselves in virtually every docket that's here, but their choice not to, I cannot explain that.
Who was a consultant used by the commission, not the staff, by the commission? And with something that big of a change, why use a hearing examiner? And then the other question is, I knew this before I ran. I knew about this rate increase before I even put my hat in the ring. I was told this by a systems operator, an owner, that the rates were gonna go up 100, 200, 300, 400%. He said, Wayne, the rates will be $150. These people don't know what's fixing to hit them. That was from a constituent, from a friend of mine that is a prior owner.
You mentioned
So
the
if he
hearing
knew-
examiner, I can't answer that, and I I voted against referring the matter to a hearing examiner. I thought it was our responsibility as the three sitting commissioners to take that hearing on, to take all those matters on full bore. I was not in support of that. I lost that vote. It went to that. However, I sat there throughout the hearing because I wanted to participate. I wanted to hear it. I wanted to add my voice to the conversation. As far as what the rates are going to be going forward, you know, we were dealing with mitigator rates, entryway. I didn't have a crystal ball.
I get
We
it.
certainly had, you know, a path of general understanding, but we would probably be likely sitting there doing the same thing, taking the same action, answering the same questions, and trying to make the hard decisions.
So during that initial filing, there was over 1,300 people that put their letters in the best they could. Over 1,300. And at that time, there wasn't 23, 24, 25,000 citizens that are on the Great Rivers cloud now. There wasn't that many. But you had 1,300 people that said, don't do this. No, please don't do this. And you can go back and look at it. Anyone can go look. It's in our file, in the commission's file. Go online and look at it. We didn't listen to our constituents. I'm listening to them. That's why I voted the way I voted.
I respect that.
They're being hammered,
Yes, sir.
is the best way I can say it. And it's just not right.
Sir.
That's all I gotta say.
One last comment, Mr. Chairman, is that y'all got handed a crappy bag, Brent. Ineffective local governments, and you try to figure out how to mop it up. And now we got to mop it up the other end of it. So we all got to govern better at each level, and sometimes we got to make hard decisions. But for us to belabor the decision that needs to be made, knowing what's going to happen next, we can talk in hypotheticals, but I'm here to tell the truth. They're going to go to the Supreme Court. Then they're going to hire their $400 an hour lawyers and teams of lawyers and dump those rates back on top of this bill and give it back to the citizens, and the citizens are going to have to pay for that too.
Commissioner Stamps, that is complete hypothetical
I have
because
the-
the counsel for the company did not confirm that. So to say that is truth is not accurate. And again, the only reason I say that because people are watching. And so it is incumbent upon us to tell the truth based on what we know. That is not factual to say that's going to happen. I do think that I trust counsel of the company that said it could possibly happen. Rates could go down. And so as a representative of the people that are asking the questions, it is incumbent upon us to try to do our duty to make sure that those questions continue to be asked and the rate possibly go back down. So I think that's the genesis of Commissioner Carr's and I's vote, is that the fact that that's an option, then we're compelled, and it's our duty to try to represent the people that are asking us these questions, and that's what we did. So to represent that that's going to happen, or that in certain ways that Commissioner Carr and I knowingly tried to put extra costs on the ratepayers is an inaccurate statement, and it's just not true, as testified by the Great Rivers Council today. And so had the council said, yes, it's going to happen, that would be a different story and would support those statements. But since he did not say those things, then those are all hypotheticals that we don't know. So our vote was based on the fact that the testimony from the council was that the rate could go back down and that there's not an impending legal action. So to give the people watching an indication that Commissioner Carr and I acted derelict in some way is not an accurate statement. And I respect you, Commissioner, but I just had to clarify that, because that's what the council had testified to us, and we based our decision on Great Rivers Council. Commissioner Carr.
You stop me from talking.
No, I just followed up, Commissioner Stamps.
Can I finish my statement before y'all keep
Yes,
going?
sir.
There are plenty of, thank you, Commissioner Bailey, I appreciate you.
Thank you, Tom.
There are possibilities all the way around in this case. There's a greater than 50% possibility that this will go to court. And then if that happens, legal fees will be attached to it, sent back to us. There is a sliver of a percentage that this rate will go down. All I'm saying is that there's a position that I'm saying that could potentially happen. There's a position that you're saying that could potentially happen. No one has told me that there's a greater than 50% chance that this rate will go down. But everyone who has advised us has said there's a greater than 50% chance that this will go to court, and then the legal fees will be attached to the bill and come back to us to have to pay. So what I'm saying is, I'm not up here telling something that's not true. Just like Commissioner Carr said, the assertion that somebody said something behind this dais that was not true, that is not something that anybody should say unless they got some daggone proof. I'm saying there's a potential that what you're saying is true. But everybody in this room knows that there's a greater percentage chance that what I'm saying is true. Nobody else in this room has come to me and said that there's a greater than 50% chance that what I'm saying is not going to happen. So while there is a percentage opportunity for what you're saying to happen, what I'm saying is we're both saying things that could potentially be true. But to say I'm saying something that's not true is not the position I think that anybody up here wants to take. Because in my world, we don't do that. Everyone has a right to their stance. The staff made a recommendation to pass it. They did some great work to get some stipulated things in order to date. And there's all potentials out there. But what I'm saying, there's a greater than 50% chance that this rate's gonna come back higher when it comes back from the Supreme Court. And that's what I'm trying to safeguard the citizens from. I'm not trying to duplicate the ineffective governments at the local level or that crappy bag that the previous commission was given. I'm not trying to beat the previous commission up either, because they got handed a crappy bag too. But at some point, somebody has to govern and move forward. Because what's in our windshield is much brighter than what's in the rearview mirror. And it's painful. That woman sat here and said, it feels like you're raping us with no lubrication. She said that right there behind that microphone. That's painful. So I know tensions are high. I know we all got places to go and things to do. But at the end of the day, we got to do what's right. I ain't come here to sugarcoat a lot of folks. And the assertion that the Keitha Stamps said a lie in a meeting should never happen again. Thank you.
If you think I did that, that's not. I'm going off the statements that speculation is not truth. So I'm not calling any of it untrue. I'm basing my comments on Great Rivers Council. That's all we know. We don't know what percentage is this or that. I can't call anybody right or wrong, and I'm not calling you wrong. I'm saying that what we know is exactly what you said, the lady's statement. When I'm sitting in Lafayette County, and an elderly woman on the front row said, "Who let them do this to us?" Those are real words.
True.
I didn't call anybody a liar because we don't know what the truth is. Speculation is speculation. So anything we're talking about now is pure speculation. All we know is that Great River Council testified to the effect that it could go down. To represent that lady that made the statement you just made and the other one that we've heard, if there's a possibility for it to go down, then it is our duty to try to assure that it goes down. That's $1 more that they have in their pocket that they don't have today. To say something's truth or untruth based on speculation is not the intent, and it's not, again, wasn't my intent to call anything untruth. My issue was 100% speculation. We can speculate either way. It's 100% speculation. We can't call that truth.
I just want to make sure we cleared that up.
100%, and that's why I follow up. I can't say truth when it's all speculative. And that's where we're at. It's speculative. And again, until council made the statements they made, it was a little clearer. But anyway, my issue is not with you. I'm just saying my statements are based on speculation, and speculation's both ways. We can speculate that that we're going to be in lawsuits. We can speculate that the rates are going to go down. We can speculate, but it's all speculation. I think again, the fact that there is an option on the table, possibly for the rates to go down, that's speculation. The option that it could end up in court, it's speculation. So again, speculation is not truth, and I'm not taking issue with telling the truth or not. My issue is to make sure the people understand that they heard the testimony. They can go back and watch the video. That's what was testified. So we are compelled to do what we have to do based on that testimony. Commissioner Barr.
Make two comments. One, I'd make a plea to Great River and its council that we use a common sense approach, that we get to a point where we both can agree for the better of our citizens in this state. I understand that they have to make a profit, but at what cost to our citizens? And I want to follow up with one thing. And this is kind of the approach that I feel like that our citizens would want us to look at. And it's a Reagan quote. It's talking about numbers. Reagan said a mathematician would look at 2 + 2 = 4. This is not my word, this is his. A statistician would say, 3.8 to 4.3. But an economist would say 2 + 2, and what do you want it to be? I would ask that we look at a mathematician, because most of our citizens look at 2 + 2 is 4. They're looking at simple numbers. This rate plan is confusing, and we don't have to use all these, metrics and formulas to get to this point. We have to look at what's comfortable for these folks. And I would make a motion that we adjourn.
Any more comments, Commissioner Stamps?
So today I want to leave here on a good note. We got 200 megawatts of nuclear power without sticking a shovel in the damn dirt. This is a great day in this room. We just voted for the enabling spaces for the Compass Data Center project. It's going to be $10 billion and create all kinds of excitement in Meridian, Mississippi.
Amen.
So I don't want the message leaving this room that there's a great divide. It's not.
Right.
And
I disagree with folks in my family way more than I disagree with folks behind this dais. And I still go home and I still deal with folks that I have to deal with. So my point I'm trying to make is I don't want leaving this room that there's some big chasm at the Public Service Commission. Because these are my brothers. And, we disagree on some things sometimes. But it does not mean that we disagree on the greater good and moving Mississippi forward. So when we leave here, I don't want some blogger or somebody to take excerpts and make this into something it's not. It's a painful process, but just like with Siemens in the city of Jackson, when I was adamant against it 15 years ago, it took 10 years for folks to tell me I was right. And I believe that this is what's going to happen today. I'll get vilified for the first 18 months, but then one day somebody's going to look back and say, you know what, Stamps? You was right in the moment. I just been in this a longer time. What's happened is rate regulation is our job. That's what we do. We set the rates. We vote for the setting of the rates. And that's painful. Citizens are never going to be happy at a rate going up unjustifiably. But it's our job to regulate. And in the future, there will be wars fought over water. This is just a precursor of it. Because water is the most scarce thing that everybody needs on this whole planet. That's why corporations want to own it. So our job, from my standpoint, is to have local Mississippi folks in charge of as much water as possible to help put some governance in place at the local level to strengthen our local governance in their operations, because they're put in situations they have to make decisions, and we have to let them know that it's okay to govern effectively. We're not doing enough training for rural water associations and private water stations on how to govern. So then they screw up the governance, and then they get handed a crappy bag like the previous commission got handed, with people with no rate, no service, and no anything. And they got a short period of time to make a decision. So Commissioner Bailey and the other commissioners from the previous commission, they got handed a crappy bag. And they did the best they could do inside their window. And some of those decisions leaked over to our window, which is a result of where we are. But we still have to go forward. And we have to make decisions going forward the best we can. So I want to get our staff to the position where they can fight or for the citizens in a better position. They got teams of lawyers. We just got a handful of folks doing the best they can with a good heart on state attorney pay scale, which is totally inadequate to be going up against teams of $400 an hour lawyers. And we just don't have the funding for that. So hopefully we can get our folks paid to those comparable levels so we can retain our institutional knowledge. We let a good man leave out this room, not this building. Ross Hammons is a good man. And he stood up for us. He ain't never lied to me, and he told me the truth to my face. And he's not here today because of this Great River fight. Too many good people are being lost and walked out of this room because of the way people feel about stuff. None of this is about my feelings. This is about my duty. This is about Ross's duty. And it's a shame that he's not on this staff anymore. And there's nothing against Kyle. He's going to build institutional knowledge over time. But we should not let folks with that much knowledge walk out this building because of how we feel about an issue. We can't replace that today at the local level nor the national level where Ross served as well. So the nation is weaker because Ross Hammons leaving out of this building. And somebody got to account for that. Thank you. I second the motion to adjourn.
Appreciate your comments. I'll echo some of that. I think, to your point, we're all doing our duty as we see it.
Mhm.
So I, like you, think that our actions will be vindicated in time. I saw that. I've seen that many, many times. I was taught as a young man it's never wrong to do the right thing.
Mhm.
My dad beat it into me. My 98-year-old grandfather told me that over and over and over again. Even if the alarm goes off. I think it is our duty, and I think that all three of us are doing our duty as we see it. If there's questions that are still unanswered, I'm going to go a different path. I did that 12 years in the legislature. It's dangerous to ask questions. People don't like it. People don't like you to dig. People don't like to ask questions. Just sit down. Just listen to me. Just vote bottom right. It is the questions that get us to the solutions. My kids ask questions all the time. I never say you ask too many questions. It's a learning experience. If we suppress the questions, we will never get the answers. So we're endeavoring as a group, all three of us, to get the answers to the questions that we still don't have. To make the correct decision, you have to have as much information and data that you can get that's correct. A lot of people ask me, what's the hardest thing in the legislature? And I said, the hardest thing in the legislature is to find the truth. Everybody has an agenda. A lot of money behind different agendas, a lot of money to be made. Hardest thing in that building across the street is to find the truth. There are 12 years. Still true today. There's hard decisions to be made. Yes, very hard decisions. But how you make those decisions is to ask the hard questions. It's not easy. It's hard. Like Commissioner Stamp said, I've ran up against a brick wall many times across the aisle, across the street. One of 6 or 7 votes. Vindicated. the end of the day, we're right. Not always. So not playing that. But I'm saying that our job as a group, and we are united. Again, there's blue, red, purple, and I forgot the other color, Commissioner Stamps. But we are united. We may have different paths to get there, but we're united in trying to represent the people of the state and get to the answers that they're asking. That's our job. And I know that we as a group will continue to ask the hard questions, even if it's uncomfortable. But in good conscience, as long as there's questions answered, we cannot go down a path that we don't have clear vision to go down. We may disagree a lot of times, like today, but Commissioner Stamps and Commissioner Carr are my brothers, not only on the bench up here on the dais, but also Christian brothers. We take that seriously, and yeah, we're gonna cross sabers sometimes. But I think you said this before, Commissioner Stamps. I disagree. Well, I'm not going to put this in your words. I'll put it in mine.
I wouldn't like to serve with any other folks to cross sabers with than the two of y'all.
You know, it has been said that I disagree more with my wife, but I still go home to her every day. I think that's a true statement. We're going to disagree. We're going to agree to disagree, but we're not going to be contentious in that. I think all of our goal is to find the truth, and I commend the staff. Y'all do a great job. I do think that the questions that we're asking is not from necessarily. I won't go there. But I appreciate the staff and y'all's work. Appreciate what y'all do. But at the end of the day, the advisement, we appreciate it. Y'all do a great job. Our job is to try to look at that and take the recommendation under advisement. And we take that serious. I know y'all work hard. We take that recommendation along with our work on the other side with the ratepayers to try to balance that. And I think that's what we're supposed to do. We're going down that path. Commissioner Stamps alluded to it. We want to make sure that the ratepayer and the utility are equally represented to this commission. People will want to hear, they need to hear both sides. And then we make the decision on what's right based on the facts presented in front of us. We're moving down that path. We started it today. And I appreciate the utilities working with us and the staff working with us. It's our effort to have transparency and answer all these questions that we have now. Again, like Commissioner Stamp said, I'm not blaming previous commissions. We're just trying to do our due diligence and our the best job to make this commission work better for the people all the way around. And that includes make sure the utilities are operating the way they can and should, and the ratepayers are being treated right. We have both sides that are going to be presented, and then we as a group are going to try to make the best decision based on the facts that we have. So we are united. I agree with Commissioner Stamps, and that I wouldn't want to serve with any other two people than these two. So we're very blessed to agree 99% of the time, maybe 98.4. But when we do disagree, we're gonna agree to be. We're not gonna be disagreeable, and I think that's the end of the day, and that's our parting message. In politics, you don't always have to be right, because I've lived long enough to know I've been wrong before. But if you make decisions based on treat people how you want to be treated and do the best you can with the information you have, you never go wrong. And that's different for all three of us. So I think it's a great meeting. I echo what Commissioner Stamp said. We added more nuclear. We started down that path early on. We've diversified our energy portfolio. We added new economic development. I'll echo what Governor Reeves said, and I agree with him. Reliable, affordable power is the future. So is clean water. So is getting sewer out of your house and somewhere else. So is natural gas. So that's what the new logo is kind of letting people know. That's our wheelhouse, and we take it serious. And that's why, again, we can get some heated conversations like we did today. But I appreciate my fellow colleagues, and with that, we stand adjourned. Thank y'all. What?
Just vote on it.
Vote on which one?
To adjourn.
To adjourn, okay. Have a motion, second?
We already did that. We gotta vote.
Yeah. So we have all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?